A surprise announcement from the federal government today that will impact Vancouver Island mariners. Plans to de-staff lighthouses, removing lighthouse keepers and replacing them with automated systems has now been scrapped. The decision was made after a Senate committee report that said public safety must take precedence over cost-cutting. A News Mid-Island Bureau Chief Jonathan Bartlett has the story.
Herring fisherman Mike Griswold says this morning's announcement gives him and other mariners peace of mind.
It's one of those things. It's like seatbelts in a car. It's 99% of the time that you're driving around, you don't need your seatbelt, but that 1% of the time that you do, it's there, and you feel pretty good that you had it on.
He's talking about lighthouse keepers. Real people, not automated equipment, will now stay at lighthouses up and down the coast.
It's reassuring to the boating public there, in that people are now are going to be able to talk to a human voice there when they are in trouble.
The announcement was made this morning in Ottawa by MP John Duncan on behalf of Fisheries Minister Gail Shea.
The Coast Guard has been instructed to halt the destaffing of light stations initiative in British Columbia, Newfoundland, and Labrador.
There are 50 light stations on the east and west coasts that still have light keepers, down from 264 in 1970. A Senate Standing Committee toured light stations in 2 provinces last year. They heard overwhelming support for keeping light keepers.
Having hearings, listening to the public, they did a very thorough job. And, the government's responded actually very quickly, given that the report was adopted this week.
The destaffing debate has been fought for decades. Reaction among lighthouse keepers is predictably positive.
They had their eyes opened up quite clearly that the services delivered by stations are absolutely essential. These are not frivolous things that people just want to think of as being romantic and all that. These are essential services that keep people alive.
The timing of this announcement is interesting, with Canadians likely heading to the polls very soon. Could this be simply an election goodie? Duncan says no, the decision stands regardless of the election or whether it brings a new government.
I can't see the Coast Guard going back to the well and trying this again. It's just not on.
Aviators and mariners absolutely need those weather services and safety services that lightkeepers provide. So, I think this is going to make everybody be able to breathe a sigh of relief.
Jonathan is live in NANAIMO now. Jonathan, you spoke with a number of lighthouse keepers today.
I did speak to quite a few lighthouse keepers today, and they're obviously very pleased with this decision. I even tracked down Canada's longest-serving lighthouse keeper couple, Ed and Pat Kidder, now retired and living in Qualicum Beach. They are happy to hear about the government's decision and say they'd now like to see the old foghorns reinstalled. They say the fog detectors they have in now are unreliable and dangerous.
Is there any indication that some of the de-staffed lighthouses will be staffed?
No, it looks at this point anyway, the program of destaffing by the Coast Guard will simply be halted. I don't think there'll be lots of job openings for lighthouse keepers to fill all the stations that have been destaffed in the last few decades. John Duncan says the status quo will remain. Eric?
Jonathan Bartlett in NANAIMO. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.